Visit Avery.com, Avary, for the most up-to-date news and information on Team Avery.
Avery, 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 Avery.
The Video Archives podcast with Quentin Tarantino and Roger Avery is back for season 2. Head on over to patreon.com/videoarchives to get ad-free exclusive content and bonus episodes. This is The Gala Show. I'm your reporter on the beat, Gala Avery. On this episode, you may know my guest from her career as a writer-director in TV. She's done everything from Marvel's Runaways to Cloak and Dagger to Chicago Med to Nancy Drew. You may also know her from her work on the big screen, Morning, Texas Killing Fields, and Jackie and Ryan. Her newest movie, Audrey's Children, starring Natalie Dormer and Jimmy Simpson, follows the journey of Dr. Audrey Evans, a doctor who is dedicated to researching new cancer treatments for her children patients. Her work in real life not only saved lives, but also helped start the first Ronald McDonald House. Today on the mic, I have Ami Canaan Mann. Hi, Amy.
Hi, how are you?
I'm really good. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
So before we bring up the topic for today, I have a question for you. You and I both have fathers that are in the industry.
Yeah.
And in this town, that's kind of a rare thing in a weird way. I've talked to a few people that have parents in the industry. One thing I find fascinating is when you work alongside your parent or you kind of follow in their footsteps. As my dad says, if he was a cooper, I would be making barrels. If he was a doctor, I would be doing it. If he was a dentist, I would take over his practice. I wanted to ask you, what was one lesson that your father imparted upon you that you have carried with you through your career?
That's a great question. I was really fortunate to have the idea in my 20s that I wanted to work with him on at least one project from the very beginning to the very end. And it happened to be Heat. And I worked not for him, but for the line producer who had another assistant who did sort of assistant-y stuff. And so I ended up doing things like, they would be like, go find the gyroscopic helicopter mount, go figure out thermal photography, go figure out how to get De Niro into Folsom Prison to talk to inmates, those kinds of things, which were like the coolest jobs. Then I ended up directing Second Unit and was with the movie all the way through when it was just my dad, his assistant, and the day we found out Bob and Al were going to do the film to the mix, through the release.
You were there from the beginning to the end.
From the beginning all the way through the end, which was incredible. And it was incredible to have an opportunity to work with him in that capacity where I could really be observant. Mm-hmm. So I would say that like the biggest lesson that I learned from him was really an observational lesson. And it was really not so much anything that he necessarily said to me. We really don't, we don't actually talk about film a lot, my dad and I.
Oh, that's interesting.
We kind of have to talk about dad-kid stuff. We don't really talk about film a lot. But nonetheless, what an amazing opportunity to be able to be in proximity and be working with somebody, but not alongside them, but not so far that you can't really see how they're moving through the world of the film. Mm-hmm. So I think the biggest lesson I took from that was really kind of persistence of vision and tenacity of vision and having the courage of your visionary convictions. That just watching someone have a concept, take the concept apart, put it back together, prep for the concept, shoot the concept, see the faults in the concept, repair them again in post, repair them again in the mix, and just watch things that had been initial ideas move through the process of a film and then land as they do in the finished product.
I actually have a second question for you. And I typically ask this of fathers who are in the industry, like what either they show their children or what they want to show their children in the future. Was there like certain movies that your dad showed you that really instilled like that you wanted to make movies, or was it more just that he made them and so you were like, I want to do it with him or alongside him or myself?
Yeah, I have a strange, extremely, extraordinarily lucky configuration in that I didn't grow up in LA.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up with my mother in Indiana until I was 17, I grew up in a town of first 900 people. And then we moved to the city of 40,000. So
no, I understand, because as I told you before, I lived here, but I grew up in Ojai, and I grew up outside of a town of 8,000 where it's just like orange trees, and you're out there and it's so small. And then when you get to the big city for me, it was Ventura, the big city where you go, there's actually a movie theater that's like a multiplex.
Exactly.
And like, you feel like, oh my God, I'm in the big city. And then you get to Los Angeles when you're 17. That's about the time I also moved back to LA.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
Yeah. So I understand.
Yeah. It's a whole different perspective. Right. And I think it's an advantage in a way. I mean, I think all things can be an advantage, but I think it's an advantage because I didn't really know a whole lot about, I went to USC Film School, and my first critical studies classes were like, oh my God, do you guys know about this guy Truffaut? Like I was just blown away. You know, I was that kid. I was really just like, I just fallen off the turnip truck, and I was like, you guys, there's this movie called The Godfather. It's really good.
But it gives you a non-jaded perspective.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's interesting then. So it wasn't necessarily a movie that either your parents showed you. It was kind of being introduced at a later time and just being like, wow, look at this plethora of things.
Right. And I think that it made me, I approached it with a total lack of cynicism.
That's the best way to do it.
And I still have that total lack of cynicism. I mean, when I walk onto a set, I feel so grateful that I get to play with the camera and like work with the actors, and like there's no, as you say, I don't feel any real jadedness. So what an incredible stroke of luck that I had that as a context when I was in Indiana, 14, 15, whatever. I was really into photography. I did theater, I played viola, I like directed theater, but I didn't even really know that film was a thing. I thought I was going to be a photojournalist because I loved writing. I was like editor of the Poetry magazine, but I loved taking photographs. I was like that punk rock kid listening to Violent Femmes spiking cigarettes in the dark room.
I feel like literally you're like my hero right now. Well, I know we're going to get into it like in your topic, because I have a feeling I know what your topic is. And so we're going to start talking about this, but like, you're like literally my hero right now with how you just described yourself.
Well, I don't know about that. I was pretty nerdy, but so to have that kind of, I don't know where that came from. My mom was a commercial real estate broker. So so I just was sort of drawn to those things. So to be a kid that was drawn to those things, and then have the benefit, I think, of being able to be introduced to filmmakers and filmmaking when I was old enough to really appreciate, like a Truffaut and The Godfather. And then on top of that, like the third troika of this amazing good luck is that I had a father who could say, well, look, if you want to like be a PA, I'll pay you $40. My first job was I was 16. I worked on a show called Crime Story in Chicago, and I was paid $40 a week, which was like, I was like, oh my God, I am so wealthy. Right? Like, what am I, $40 a week? And I saved up all my money and bought a Nikon FM2. But he wasn't around. He was doing Last of the Mohicans. But so to have that instinct to do it, wherever that comes from, I don't know where it comes from, to have an appreciation of a discovery of filmmaking later in life, and then to have proximity to access to actual filmmaking. I just was very, very lucky.
Now, as always, my guest gets to bring their topic to the mic. So, Amy, why don't you tell us what your topic is and why you decided to choose it?
I thought it would be cool to sort of talk about lenses, real and metaphorical. I'm a little obsessed with actual camera lenses, but I also love what they mean in terms of perspective and point of view, and what they do for us, both when we're behind them and then when we watch the results of them.
But before we get into the topic, it's time for a commercial break. Back by popular demand, the Video Archives merch store is up and running. Get your favorite t-shirts, hats, notebooks, stickers, and more at videoarchivesmerch.com. You know me. I write all my notes in the Notes on Cinema notebook, the Gala edition, of course. Check out videoarchivesmerch.com to get yours today. Hey, thanks so much for being a loyal listener. If you want to keep up with me off mic, make sure to follow me on Instagram at Gala Avery. And we're back. That is our topic for today, lenses. I have 30 minutes on the clock. Our time starts now. Okay, let's talk about your love for photography because I also love to shoot film photography. I shoot 35, 110 and Polaroid.
That's awesome.
And my film fridge, or my fridge itself, is just full of film. I have more film than food in there, and people joke that I eat it because there's just so much in there. So where did your love of photography come from?
I couldn't really tell you. I think that the first time I was able to get behind a lens was when I was about 12. Mm-hmm. And then I really got into it when I was 14.
Were you gifted a camera from someone, or did you just kind of pick it up, or was it always around? Or?
Yeah, I think I used my mom's camera, and I was doing photography in my high school. I went to a very actually quite really, really, really great high school in West Lafayette, Indiana, which was sort of affiliated with Purdue University, 400 kids, and everybody taught at Purdue. Everybody's parents taught at Purdue. So a bunch of smarty pants kids. It was a great school. And so we had a great photography. We had a darkroom. We had a great photography teacher. And there was a moment, I actually really remember the moment when I was first doing photography, when I realized that the beauty of a lens is that you can make the decision what you are choosing to see and not see. And you can design a feeling almost like a mechanic based on what you're omitting as much as what you're including. That the power of the lens is almost omission rather than inclusion.
That's so true. I mean, my dad gifted me my camera only a few years ago, but it's like his original like Nikon FG20. And like I carried that thing around and like I love that thing. And I remember though, he always told me it's not the camera, it's the glass. Mm-hmm. Like it's your lens. So it's like you can take any camera, you can take a cheaper camera, more expensive camera, etc. But it's really your glass that you want to invest in. And then, of course, the photographer's eye. And I love that every photographer just sees the world so differently. Right. But you're right. It is about omission necessarily. What you choose also not to show and like how you do that.
Yeah, it's sort of like an extreme experiment in negative space, isn't it? Because everything that is outside the frame is telling you as much as what you're putting in the frame.
Did you shoot mostly black and white, I'm guessing?
Yeah, I did a lot of black and white. And I was really influenced. I really loved Man Ray, and I really loved like the Weimar Republic and the work that was Moulin-Rouge and all the that sort of era. So I was playing around a lot in the darkroom with solarization. And
that's the thing. It's like, so I've never actually been in a darkroom because like a lot of the darkrooms have kind of just poofed and vanished. And for a while, my dad and I talked about putting a darkroom in my guest bathroom.
You totally should.
I know. I was thinking, okay, I can shoot black and white, and I can actually learn how to kind of do the Photoshop. And I put Photoshopping in air quotes.
Yeah.
But like how my dad described it, I'm like, oh yeah. And like you take it and like you can cover your hand when you're doing the print, and like you can make it darker in some place.
Burning,
you can dodge and burn. It's like a alchemy, like dark art almost. Like you're a wizard.
That is absolutely correct. I could not agree with you more. It's so funny. I was actually, my son is 18 and a great photographer, and I was taking him to Freestyle, the amazing place where you can, and I'm
because you can rent time now at certain dark rooms and stuff. Yeah.
And they have like the paper and the enlargers and everything. And I was showing him like, this is an enlarger and the light comes through here. You take a piece of paper and then you light your cigarette and you play Violent Femmes and then you like dodge with the thing and you like, that's what you do. But I was telling him like, it is a dark art because there's a thing that I used to do where you would like, this might be too in the weeds, but I would do a thing where like you do the developer and then the stop and then the fix. And the fix, if you don't rinse it, and then you're supposed to rinse it and put it on a rack to dry, the print. But if you don't rinse the fix, it dries in a kind of crusty shape, but you never know how it's going to dry. So then I would take that, what pattern it will have, and you put another piece of paper over that, you flip it over, you turn the enlarger on full blast, and you do like a negative image. And then the print that you get on the bottom has got like lightning shapes on it from where the fix was. That's
like what all these like I don't know what to call it, like hokey new film that like they have like the lines in them. Then they try to do like I don't know. It's like they call it like just like it's not even fake film. It's just like film that has process shots in it. Like they'll have like an application. It's like an application on it, and it's like trying to mimic what that would look like. but it doesn't do a very good job. It's like nothing compares to when you're actually in the dark room and you're doing tricks like that.
And you never know what you're going to get.
That's
so
what I love
everything's
about
a one-off.
film.
Yeah.
I love the fact that I can take a picture, and when I do my film photography, and I carry like around like a little half frame, like a really cheapo half frame plastic lens in my purse. And so I'm just always, it's my diary camera. Cool. And I'll just snap pictures of what I see, and people are like, oh, can I see like the picture of me you just took? And I'm like, well, it's film. I have to send it off and I have to get it developed, and then I have to see. And my half frame takes my 36 and turns it into whatever 72. And I might not shoot that for 6 months. It might be in my purse forever. And 6 months later, you might get a picture of yourself, or you might not, because maybe it didn't turn out.
That's right.
Like, I don't know what it's going to look like in the end.
Yeah.
And there's so many now that like I don't develop my film, there's so many hands it goes through. It's like the person that develops it, the person that people, when they edit them, if they edit your roll before you get it back, it's like there's so many other people. I always try to get raw scans of what I do. And I have a friend in Texas who develops my film if he's not nursing.
Oh,
he's
really?
a nurse now.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's
so
cool.
I'll send it to him.
And then he sends you the negs.
Yeah. He sends me my negatives back and a scan of it. And like the way he does it is the best.
You gotta get a dark room so you can be playing with those negatives.
I know. Now it's like I'm feeling like I have to do it. He reignited it in me. So when we talk about lenses, we have the lens on the camera, but we also have the lens of how we see the world.
Right.
Are they the same thing?
No. And I think what's interesting is that a lens sitting on a table is objective, but once you put the human behind the lens, it is never neutral. It's never objective. It's always influenced by the background, the perspective, the height, even the most mundane things of the person who's controlling it. And I think that's fascinating because it's so influenced by how that person how that person walks through the world is gonna.
And also you could be two different people at any time that you pick up your camera.
Great, right, exactly.
You could be in a really good mood, a really bad mood, something amazing could have happened, a death could have happened. You change throughout your life. And so the way that you see things also changes. I mean, as a photographer and as a filmmaker, do you have certain things that you gravitate towards? Like John Borman's a really good example, how he always has the river in his movies and he loves the river. I love power lines personally.
Yeah.
I was just in Dallas and my friend took me out to a pancake breakfast at a post house. And afterwards I had my 110 camera. And I'm like, oh, look at these power lines. And he's like, are you taking photos of power lines?
I guess I'm
am. Like, yes, I am. I love power lines. I love a few things and that's one of them.
Yeah. I think I always gravitate towards, and I wonder sometimes if it's because where I grew up like out in the country where there are just massive horizon lines, which you don't get in the city.
And you don't get them in Los Angeles.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I'm where it's just miles and miles and miles of nothing, of soybean fields. And so I find that I tend to gravitate towards a massive, wide, like lower
like
third
a vista.
A vista where it's just sky, and there's something really, I think, beautiful about, I guess, the negative space of the sky above the landscape. So I find that I tend to do that. And then I tend to gravitate towards a 40 mil. I just love a 40 mil. There's something.
What about it?
It's intimate, but it's not invasive. And you feel like you're in conversation with the performer, with the actor in a way, which isn't necessarily, I mean, I pick lenses depending on what's going on with the scene, obviously.
Maybe you could describe for the audience who might not be, because I have a lot of filmmakers that listen, but I also have a lot of people that are not filmmakers. Maybe you can describe a little bit about the difference between certain lenses. Like you have 40 mil and like why you would pick that one for that specifically.
Yeah. I mean, there's different, lens widths, and the general sort of on hand widest is a 27, and then a little bit wider than that, you end up sort of getting the fisheye where it's like it curves around a little bit. So it's like, or 17, definitely curves around. And then you have like the long lenses that if you wanted to think of like a telescope on a rifle or something, where, the longer lens is like a 120. So 40 is sort of like in the middle, but veering towards wide. And there's a way the way that it controls the depth of field, you can sort of focus in on particularly in Audrey's Children, actually, we were using a Hawk lens that was a vintage lens, so that the edges of the frame were just a little bit concave and just a little bit curved. and the center of the frame was perfectly in focus. And I tended to use mostly a 40 on that. It really pulled your eye right into her.
It does. You can tell also when you look at the
Yeah.
surrounding that you do focus on the middle because that's what's in focus.
Yeah.
Did you know that you wanted to use that lens?
We tested it, and I was like, we tested all these vintage lenses. We knew we wanted to use vintage lenses, and we tested it. And the 40 was like, that's the one I knew I was going to use that one the most because it told the story. It's a story of a woman who is extraordinarily myopic and to a fault. I mean, she's a flawed character, though she accomplishes a tremendous amount, as we all are. She's flawed. And her flaw is her unrelenting, tenacious focus. So I wanted that to kind of be reflected in the lens itself, that you cannot help but look at her as she cannot help but look at her goal. And that so that when you are away, even subconsciously as an audience member, you might not know that's what's happening, but that's just like lenses just have a feeling to them.
Well, that's the art of cinema.
Yeah.
Is that the filmmaking itself, because you have the script and the script tells the story and the plot, but the filmmaking itself also tells a lot about it, controls how your mind reads the movie. And people ask me a lot of time, like, what's the difference between watching a movie and reading a movie? And when you read a movie, it's when you start noticing all these things, like, oh, the director used the 40 millimeter lens because it focuses you in on her character and it reflects what the character is doing. So like those are psychological tricks almost.
Yeah, they're definitely choices so that you are. I just sort of feel like being a filmmaker is in a weird way, be like being an excellent dinner host. You know, you just want to have like, here's this beautiful meal and it should feel effortless and no one sees the kitchen and no one sees, you know, it just sort of arrive and it should make the audience feel cared for, thought of, you know,
you don't know
generosity.
You don't also know the difficult days on set. You don't know that they couldn't get the carrots for the soup, so they had to swap it for potatoes. You don't know these things. And when you get it, it's just a delicious meal.
Right.
And they should be able to enjoy it without knowing all the other stuff that happened in the kitchen.
Exactly. And it should be subtle and kind of below ground a little bit in these choices. Nobody should be thinking like, nobody should be having to pay attention to the mechanics. They should just be feeling their feels that the mechanics help to create, you know. And that's, I think, the fun and the puzzle for me of directing is helping design that so that I have an idea of what I want the audience to feel in a film, in a scene, in a moment, in a line of dialogue. And what are the 1,000 different pieces of mechanics to help hopefully get the character there or get the audience there.
So you made me think about this because when we're talking about, like we talked about, like the actual physical lens that you use, and the physical lens, the 40 millimeter, captured exactly what you wanted to look both in story and in feel. When an audience is watching a movie, though, they're both watching it kind of through your eyes, like through the lens that you're shooting, but also through their own. But do you think there's a more important way to see it? Like, do you want them to see it through your vision, or do you want them to apply their own?
I don't know if all directors would agree. I mean, I think one of the beauty parts of
directors are all different.
They're all so different, right? Like,
some directors are dictators and some are collaborative. And
that's actually, like, you know, when you were asking earlier, like I had the good fortune of being an intern assistant for Robert Redford on River Runs Through It. And, you know, you cannot, and so those are the two filmmakers that I got to see work, you know, Robert Redford and then my dad, sort of from beginning to end of a film. And they could not be more different.
Yeah.
And the movies are exceptional. And they're incredible filmmakers, and they approach the task from almost polar opposite positions. And so the lesson I took was every director has their own, that's the goal. The goal isn't to emulate, there's no one right way to do things. There's just, you know, need to understand your own way.
You can look to your forefathers for tips and tricks,
Absolutely.
But then you as a child have to walk on your own.
Totally.
Do you think that Robert Redford, though, is so different in how he does it because he was also an actor?
I think a different man, different experience, different life experience.
Different lens.
Different lens. Exactly. And I think that's where I started thinking about the idea of lenses even then. I mean, I was like 22 or something. It was like, it is the job of the director to understand their lens, not only the lens we're going to put on the camera today, but how they are seeing the world from the perspective they're seeing it, and make sure that, yeah, I did a TV show once where we had it was handheld. And the camera operator the actress was small, like 5'2", and the camera operator was like 6'2", and
so he's all the way up there.
Exactly. And I was like, I'm sorry, dude, you're gonna have to crouch. He's like, I can't, it hurts my back. I'm like, you're gonna have. He's like, why? I'm like, because you're tall and the camera's on your shoulder, and now we're looking down on her, and she needs to be empowered.
And that changes everything, because if you're looking down on her, the audience is looking down on her, even if they don't. It's psychological.
Exactly.
It's the camera, the language of the camera.
Yeah, he was not happy. I was like, I'm sorry, we have to be at her eye level or under her to give her power. She's
put him on a skateboard. Put him on a skateboard.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I guess, I mean, one thing that I really appreciated about Audrey's Children, and you mentioned it, is that she is a flawed character. Because in Hollywood, I feel, and maybe not so much anymore, but for a very long time, there was this drive of, oh, we need strong female characters. And I always kind of rebelled against that, because the way that strong is, not all women are strong. Women are people. We're flawed, just like the rest of them. You have strong women, weak women, happy women, sad women. And so I love that you're able to, with Audrey's Children, show like she did all of these amazing things, but yes, she had her faults too. And like, let's actually show her faults through the language of the camera.
Yeah.
That's really smart.
Oh, well, I mean, thank you. But to your point, like, we're just people. And we're just trying to do what we feel impassioned about. Everybody. I mean, filmmakers, not filmmakers, everybody. And
I even think that there was a quote from her that was saying, from Dr. Audrey Evans, it's like, don't see me as a woman, like see me as a doctor. Like I am a doctor. And it is also like the layers of ourself that like other people perceive. And I've talked to people about this. It's like, I have my outside that people might judge me on. Like I'm a woman, I'm young, maybe people will say, oh, it's nepotism, blah, blah, blah. But then I have like my inside of who I am.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily need to look like someone to be able to relate to them, because I have all that inside. Like my favorite example is Rollerball. Like Jonathan in Rollerball, I 100% relate to him. I love him. I think he's one of the greatest characters, but I look nothing like him. I'm not doing anything like him. But it's just, I guess it is to bring it back to like the lens, it is my lens that I see my life through. And so I'm able to relate to people that don't look like me.
And maybe the mark of a good storyteller that the character was designed such that you can identify with somebody who doesn't ostensibly have the same affect as you.
Yeah, I think so. That's important.
Yeah.
So did you shoot Audrey's Children digital or film? Digital. Yeah. Have you shot like movie film before?
I have, back in the day.
Yeah. How do you feel like? Do you feel like it's different when you're shooting that versus digital?
It's really different. I mean, when I was in film school, we were shooting film, and I really loved what you talked about, that you do the takes and you don't know if it worked.
No.
So you wait. You got to wait till it's processed, and there's a kind of like terror, but a healthy terror about that.
Yeah.
Because it keeps you on your toe. I think it keeps you on your toes. And I think like having worked in film initially, gave me some habits that I still carry with me to this day. Like I don't hang out in Video Village. I don't watch things on a monitor.
My dad talks about Video Village. He's like, the bane of my existence is Video Village.
Yeah, I can't with Video Village.
He said like originally with film, and it's like you have this one singular vision. Like you have your vision as the director in your head, and then you talk to your DP, and then your DP figures out how to do it. And then you just do it. And then everyone gets together, eats a pizza, and watches dailies.
Right.
And now it's like you have all these gargoyles over your shoulder, like saying, oh, I don't know about this, or like, this doesn't look right. Or,
well, I also just don't like being that far away from the camera and my actors.
Yeah. Well, a
like
director
I like to be there. I don't ever sit down really. I don't hang out. I like to be near the camera. So if I have, I always have a little handheld monitor that I carry with me. And I just like carry like it's an IV. I just want to carry it around the set wherever I go, because I just want to be there. I want to be there. I feel like and that's just from shooting on film.
In the action, though.
You want to be in the action, and you want to see what the lens, in film, if it's before you could tap in, right? So you had to like, if you want to see your shot, you had to stand next to the camera. And if you want to really see performance, you got to be near your actor. And I guess that was just in my blood now.
It's the energy though, also of like everyone coming together, and the kinetic force of like, we're doing something. We only have so much time to do it.
We only have so much time to do it. And if we're lucky, and
if we're lucky,
smart,
it'll turn out.
We'll get lightning in a bottle, and it's just like, boom. And you just never know when that's going to happen. But everyone's working towards it, and everyone knows it when you get it.
It's a feeling.
It's a feeling.
So when you're working with your actors and you're up close, like what was your relationship like on this movie specifically?
Oh, they were incredible. My relationships with them weren't to an actor. They were just unbelievable. From Natalie to Jimmy to Clancy to Juliana, they were just Brandon. They were just amazing. Everybody was, and this is a testament to the story. Everybody, which is such a delight when you get this experience. Everybody was working on this story for exactly the right reason.
Because they wanted to be there.
They really wanted to be there. They really wanted to help tell the story. They understood it. It's weird how this movie has drawn people in that have had experiences with cancer, children with cancer. And my what I told everybody was nobody wants to hang out and listen to a story about kids with cancer for an hour and a half. It's just too sad. There's a lot going on in the world. So the objective as the directorial approach, and then this kind of went down to how I worked with the actors and production design and shot design and everything, was to create a world that felt compelling visually so that you wanted to be in it, that it was sort of a visually consistent. And that was everything from color palette to color timing and their performances, and that you were kind of drawn into the people. And then before you knew it, by the end, it was about kids with cancer. And there's no way I could have done that without the incredible performances of Natalie and Jimmy and Clancy, who got it, understood that approach, and were just dedicated to making their characters as vivid and real and authentic. Because everybody was real. So we wanted to be absolutely true to the people whose families were involved in watching and make sure that there was total authenticity.
Well, I mean, that's really important also because when we're talking about lenses and you're doing, I wouldn't call it a biopic because it's more like a collage of like this real event that happened.
Yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily call it a biopic, but when you have this real life story, there are the things that happened and then there are the things that you might have to change for the screen.
Right.
And it's either because of you have to combine characters or you have to combine events or you only have so much time to tell the story or you want to put in your own personal experience and reflection or the actor is like, I have a connection to this as well. How much of it is just like true from like A to Z or how much is yourself and the actors put into it?
Well, I think both, if that's an answer.
It's all of the above.
It's all of the above. Yeah. I mean, we really tried to distill the essence of the people that we're telling the story about, and that was critical, particularly in terms of Jimmy and Natalie's relationship in the film. That was really important. It was because it
walks a good balance.
Yeah, good. Thank you. Yeah, because it's a love story. And yet it's a love story about people who it's not a physical love story. It's a love story of two people who fall in love with the way each other thinks.
It's an intellectual love story.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like that was really compelling. And that was true to what happened in the case of
they
Audrey
got married when they were like 80.
Yeah, they got married when they were 80. And they had worked together all this time. So I guess to answer your question, it was like the distillation of the essence of the character, making sure that was authentic to the people that we were.
Yeah, because there's so much that you have to tell in this story. Like what they did changed kind of everything.
It kind of changed everything. I mean,
it's like when they were putting the stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, I was like, I never even really thought about how that came about.
Yeah.
I'd never even considered like, oh, why do we call it stage 4? Or why do we call it this?
And particularly for neuroblastoma, which at the time was such a brutal, as it says at the end of the movie, only, it
was like 10% or something.
10% of, 20% of kids lived. It was really sort of we were talking to a lot of people who had worked with Audrey at the time, and they were saying that some of the nurses who were nurses at the time were saying that really was a hospice situation. If your kid got neuroblastoma, you basically just end of life care, trying to make sure they're comfortable. Take your kid home. And there was really no hope. And she just really turned those numbers around. And it was due to that staging system and research. It's incredible.
So what was it that really drew you to the project? Was it the story?
What drew me to the project was there was a scene in the script, Julia Fisher-Farman's script, which is in the movie, where she takes a child to the roof and explains a conceptual way for this child to think about her own inevitable death. And I thought, my God, what a person what a terrible thing to have to do and yet this woman felt compelled to do it. And she did it day in and day out for decades, because nobody wants to have that conversation with a child. Nobody. And yet she put herself in that position and helped countless thousands of kids understand their own mortality in a way that was benevolent and kind. And I thought, well, this is somebody that needs to have their story told, because we all in our lives, which are chaotic normally, and then right now generally everything feels chaotic, and maybe we can't control everything and fix everything, but we can pick maybe one thing or one task that we can do, that we have the skill set to do, and focus on that with the same kind of myopic determination that she did, and maybe in that small way make a difference.
That's one of my favorite scenes in the movie. So
thank you.
I'm not going to give it away. I think people should go watch it, but that was one of my favorite scenes in the movie for sure, because it's so emotional. As you said, it's a really heavy topic.
Yeah.
It's like no one wants to be in real life or in make-believe thinking about kids that have cancer.
Yeah.
And the way that she completely turned around the view of like how the treatment is done, and also the Ronald McDonald House, which I always knew, but I never also considered how did that get started. It's all these things that we kind of, I don't want to say in maybe a modern age take for granted that they exist, but here they are, and here's the woman that started it. Do you still shoot film photography?
I don't. And I wish that I did.
Does your son? Because you took him to the darkroom. Or
I
does
did.
he shoot digital?
He shoots digital, but I
think you need to get your camera.
I think you're right.
Honestly, it's
gotta bust out that
you
knife
gotta
on
bust.
FM2.
Honestly, there's a great website, Retrospect,
Mhm.
with a KT at the end, and they do all the refurbishing. So like I have an SX70, which I'll shoot your Polaroid on, but it's
Yeah.
converted for 600 film, so I can get it. But they're like my best friends. Like I have a Retina camera that my grandpa just gave me, and like the gear is
wow.
broken, so I got to go send that out to get fixed. But I don't know. It's a dark art. I think you should come back to the dark art.
I think you're right. I think I will. I think you've inspired me. All right, we'll both be.
Yeah, we'll both be shooting film. I'll get in a dark room if you get your camera out again.
Okay, cool. And then
think-
we can like take photos of it and put on Instagram.
Yeah, I know. It's funny. I actually don't like share any of my film photography on Instagram. I like
really?
keep it hidden like in a folder, and I'll go through it by myself sometimes, or I'll get prints made and I'll like look at my
Yeah.
prints. But I kind of like, unless it's like of someone and I'll send it to them and they'll post it. Like I don't really, because
That's interesting. You
I
don't frame
shoot-
it or.
I'll just have like pictures around my house of it. But like
Yeah.
I thought about this recently. Like, why do I shoot pictures? Like, do I shoot them for other people to look at? No, I kind of just take them for myself.
Oh, isn't that great? That's cool.
That's the kind of the funny thing about it, because I know some people that like they do it for work, and so it's like they want everyone to see, or they'll shoot pictures and they love sharing them. But for me, it's like it's kind of like a private
Yeah.
thing. It's like my family. It's like Christmas. It's like Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
It's my day-to-day life, and I don't know why I take pictures, but I do.
I mean, that's important. It's, we should all have things that we just love to do because we love to do them, and it's deeply private and personal. And yeah,
Do you still have your camera?
I do.
You do. Do
Yeah.
you still have your lenses?
I do. Yeah.
Are they exactly what you'd want to shoot on?
Yeah. Although now that we're talking, I might have to go get a new camera. Maybe I'll treat myself to a new camera.
I know that's the dangerous thing, is that when you start,
It's a slippery slope.
I know, and then you got to look at what film stock you want.
Yeah,
and,
that's
like,
right. Then I'm building a dark room.
I
It's
know.
like a
Next
whole
thing you know, it's like I think you got to get your son a camera, though. I think that's what you might have to do.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, yeah, like a proper still camera. I think
Like
that's
an
right.
actual. Don't get a medium. I heard once you get into medium format, it's over.
Yeah,
Like
okay.
then all of a sudden you're just. People keep telling me, "Oh, when are you going to get into medium format?" I'm like, never, because then I'm going to be spending so much money on medium
Yeah.
format film, and the camera looks beautiful.
Yeah.
But I'm like run and gun. I found someone that develops 110, which was like my holy grail to find someone. 'Cause
Yeah.
I love the little tiny format of it.
Are you worried that the technologies will go away?
Yes and no,
Yeah.
because I think there are still people obviously that shoot film.
Yeah.
Every now and then, like someone will say, "We're not making our film anymore. We're not
That's what
spooling
scares
it."
me.
But I have like my friend who develops my film. He spools his own film
Right.
from cinema film, and so he's like, "Okay, here's my 250D film," and he passes me a few rolls, and I'll shoot on it, and I'll love it. Fuji's still making film, which is great,
It's
but
true.
they discontinued my colored frames So I bought all the colored frames in North America.
Wow.
They live in my fridge now. I did not want scalpers to get them. I wanted to have them.
That's the thing, right? Like if, God forbid, something should happen and we lose our digital archives, then your photographs, though, will remain.
Negatives.
Your negatives will remain. And it just goes back to lenses, doesn't it? And that might be the only archive of how somebody saw something at some point.
That I think when we talk about like how people see things, the Academy of Motion Picture Arts, their museum has this really cool day where you can take in family films. So like that's shot on Super 8 or video or stuff, and you can screen them at the Academy.
Oh, that's cool.
And you can also donate them, and they'll keep them in like an archive. And so it's really cool because that's like one of the ways that you can see things that are no longer here, especially in Los Angeles. Like, oh, here's that street, or here's the fashion, here's the furniture.
Right.
And you never we don't realize like we are living in history right now.
Right.
One day this is going to be history. So that picture you take or the way that you see things, that's history. Making.
Yeah.
I'm so sappy about it, but I love it. So that's all the time that we have for today. But Amy, is there any final thought that you want to share with the audience?
I guess my final thought that I'd want to share would just be I would say in regards to lenses, know the value of your point of view and don't be shy about expressing it. And to your point, like, even if it's not anything for the world to see, it's just for you, just an archive for your own self. But that your point of view our point of views are valid and important. And not only to record moments, like you're saying, moments like in history, but just also from the unique perspective that we all carry with us.
Yeah, because you and I could look at this one building in two completely different ways. Be interested in different things. I could be looking at power lines and you could be looking at the mosaic tiles on it.
Right.
It's just the way that we see the world is completely different, and important that everyone has their voice to talk about it.
Agreed.
That's it for today. Thank you so much to my guest, Ami Canaan Mann, for coming on to the show. Amy's latest movie, Audrey's Children, is in theaters March 28th, so make sure to go and check it out. I'm Gala Avery, and this has been The Gala Show. The Gala Show is brought to you by Avery.com. This episode was executive produced by Roger Avery and produced by Gala Avery. Music composed by Andy Milburn. Additional sound mixing by Eric Clapp. As always, I'm your host, Gala Avery. Copyright 2024, all rights reserved. Despite me sharing the same last name with this charity, I don't have any affiliation with it, besides the fact that the issue is very near and dear to my heart. Did you know that in the United States, 2.7 million children currently have a parent in prison, and it's estimated that 10 million children have experienced parental incarceration at some point in their lives? I was one of these kids, and as an adult, I am really grateful to be able to give back to Project Avery. Their mission is to build leadership from within by supporting community through programs such as mentoring and outdoor education, and also to remove the stigma surrounding having a parent that's incarcerated. You don't have to feel alone. If you know a kid who could use these resources or would like to donate money or time to the charity, please go to Project Avery, that's AVARY.org, to check out what this amazing charity is all about. Again, that's projectavery.org. Thank you guys from the bottom of my heart.